That doesn't work very well, does it? Good evening. How the devil are you? A special warm good evening, as I'm sure it is absolutely boiling down in Australia and New Zealand. This is especially for you. Um, I'm very, very excited. I can't tell you how excited I am to come and visit your beautiful countries and try and put the world to rights. We are a global constituency of women. That's what this is all about. That's why I feel that it's my business to come down to Australia and New Zealand. I hope you agree. Otherwise, it's going to be terrible. Anyway, so I want to just say, oh, hello, it's freezing in Melbourne. Brizzy woman here. Hello from Lincoln Turf Island. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good evening. I'm just going to keep saying good evening. So let's have a look at you lovely people. 10:30 in the morning here. I do realize. It's very interesting. So the whole idea about this wonderful thing is that we are going to come and do TERF talk. We're not going to do TERF talk. We're going to do Let Women Speak in Australia and New Zealand. I'm coming on the 5th of March. So the phone lines are now open. Really would like to hear from you if you're in Australia and New Zealand. Talk to me about why it's important that you get to speak, that we create this Let Women Speak for you. So if you're in Australia, the free phone is 1-800-959-819. If you're in New Zealand, it's 800-441-607. Let me say that for you again. If you want to donate to the tour so that we can do this, and we will be making a film of the tour, but if you want to donate to the tour to enable women where you are to come out and speak, it's 1-800-959-819. Well, good evening. You are the first caller. How the devil are you? You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Hi, Kelly. I'm trying to turn off my computer, but I'm not there. Finally.
Okay, got it. Good evening.
Hi. I'm not. Good evening. Good morning to you. I'm not going to give my name, but I'm so happy to chat with you.
Good. Me too.
And I'm a transplant from the UK. I've been here for a number of years, and we've had a bit of a vicarious connection because 4 years ago I wrote something online about a book written by a woman called Emma Pickett. It was called The Breast Book.
Yes.
And you went to the book launch, and
Right.
you challenged her.
Oh, was that you? Well, thank you.
That's me that wrote that, yeah. And I looked at it yesterday, and I reposted it on my new Substack, and every single word of it still remains true.
Yeah.
The organization that I wrote about is, I don't know if you remember, but the woman who wrote the book was also the chair of the Association of Breastfeeding Mothers. And I was a volunteer for the breastfeeding, for the ABM.
Yeah.
They have just doubled down on the whole gender ideology thing. They've essentially chucked me out, and they've chucked out other women who do not bend to the ideology. So I know of women who have been sexually abused and who have been in mental health services and have also volunteered for them. And these are women who for religious reasons also do not want to use sex neutral language. Yeah. And they've been told that they need to reconsider if they can work with the organization, and they've removed access to the sort of the training pages on social media, and essentially just we don't want you here.
It's so revolting.
The same thing's happening in Australia. The same thing's happening with all breastfeeding organizations around the world. It's a I saw it coming from about 2016 in the breastfeeding world, and I was
Mm.
really busy at the time because I went back to university at the time, and then in 2017, somebody pretty much attacked me in social media and realized I couldn't just like shy away from it. I had to take a stand. I grew up in extreme poverty in the developing world, and gender ideology just isn't relevant to people who are struggling.
Yeah.
It's people go to work, people have a sex, and that's it.
Mm.
And all our oppressions, if we're male or female, all our oppressions tend to come from our sex. You can't change that, and there's nothing that comes out of academia regarding this that touches the lives of men and women
Mm.
in the real world. And this is one of the reasons why, even though I've gone to university, I have two postgraduate degrees, that I cannot get along with. I can listen to the academics and go, yeah, 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 this all makes sense,
Mm.
but this isn't touching people on the ground.
Yeah.
And it's just like these women in the breastfeeding organizations, the trustees, and these people, it's all a self-serving thing that's going on there. There's the volunteers who are not being paid, the women who are meeting these women face to face, women who are seeing the real poverty in the UK right now, and around the world. This doesn't. It's a completely different reality. There is no
Yeah.
man that's ever going to chest feed.
No, it's do you think it's a deliberate assault on mother instinct and our connections and bonds that we have with our babies? Do you think it's on
Um,
purpose?
I think I think that I think first of all, I don't know where the breastfeeding organizations in Australia and in the UK, they get their funding. They get a lot of funding from the government, and the
Mm.
governments and the people who run these policy wonks essentially tell other policy wonks how and what to say. And because they depend on each other, in the Caribbean where I grew up, you would say hand wash hand.
Yeah.
You do
Yeah.
me a favor, I wash your back, you wash that sort of thing.
Mm.
It's like this is this is what's going on. So what happens in their small socioeconomic class that they come from? They will always protect each other.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
that's very important to what's going on. And another thing too, we can't just say it's just that. When there's no home in most homes in the UK have two incomes.
Yeah.
Most people cannot own the lifestyle they have if they don't have two incomes. So people are terrified about losing that job. So someone like myself who says, this is impossible. This isn't serving the needs of women.
Yeah.
Um, we, they can't call me a racist because I'm not white, right? And I come from the Caribbean. So suddenly that falls through, you know.
Yeah.
And they might say, oh, you're a transphobe and you're a TERF. And that sort of thing, you can't shame me into knowing what the truth is.
Yes. Yes.
I've been through that pain already a long time ago. I've been the victim of domestic violence, in the home growing up.
Mm.
And I knew that one of the reasons that I was being treated that way was I was a child. So for me, what piqued me was the authoritarian language.
Mm.
It was what they were saying, but how they were saying was that trigger, because the authoritarian language is what I remember
Yeah.
being bullied about within the home, you see.
Oh,
And
yes.
and you know, I have been beaten for standing up for myself, and I didn't care, you see,
Yeah.
because I was still standing up for myself.
Yes, I quite
So
understand that.
for me, what they've tried to do to me doesn't really get to me anymore. I mean, it does get to you, but on the other hand, it doesn't. You can't shame me into shutting
No.
up.
Well,
And I think
yeah.
this is where what they do is they shame women into shutting up.
Well, I think sometimes our trauma can shape our very, very acute sense of justice, and by the sounds of it, it certainly shaped yours. But Well, I look forward to meeting you when I come over. But thank you so
I'd love
much.
to
And
meet you
thank
as
you for
well.
motivating me into going to
Yeah.
that. I met an amazing Irish lady that night. She was one of the first women that ever bought one of my t-shirts. And I didn't realize when I met her, but yeah, sometimes these sort of things just give you an opportunity to make connections that stay with you forever. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, at the time I didn't know who you were really. I mean, I'd seen
Nor
you
did
on
I.
telly when you, yeah, but when that happened, I was just amazed. And the bit that she tried to stand up on, I actually left it out of the argument because it was getting too long, and I know that people want to read and move on.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to like bore people where they stopped reading, and then it came out, and pretty much she didn't have a foot to stand on.
No, absolutely
You
not.
know.
No, well, advocating for the mutilation of children's healthy bodies is never a good look. But thank you so
No.
much for calling, and I look forward to seeing
Okay.
you when I come down under.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Oh, what a great call that was to start. Yeah, so years ago, this wonderful woman wrote this piece, and it totally moved me into action. And we went along, and oh my goodness, the rest is history. Hello, good evening. This is Turf Talk, something Wednesday, I guess. You are through to Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say? You are
Hello.
through. Hi. Good morning. Good evening. Good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Melbourne.
Thank you so much. How are you? What would you like to say?
um, uh, Hi. There's a little bit of a delay, so I'm just going to turn that off so I can hear
Yes,
you.
we are
I just
quicker
want
on
to
the
say
phone.
welcome to Melbourne, and we're so excited that you're coming to Australia. We call Victoria where Melbourne is Woke-toria
Right.
because it's a complete nightmare. And the legislation here makes it compulsory to trans your children. It's actually an offence to tell your child that they can't be born in the wrong body. So, we really need to come and help raise awareness in our country. There's lots of great women fighting it here, but we're doing it pretty tough because all the states, except for Queensland and New South Wales, have already brought in self-ID legislation and also compulsory transing of children legislation. So
Did you
in
have
some
any
ways it's
idea
kind of
you
worse than...
did you have any idea that you lived in a country that would be quite so authoritarian? Like, were there any inklings of this at all, say 10 years ago?
There really wasn't. And the shocking thing is, 10 years ago in 2013, it was our first woman Prime Minister who brought this legislation in. So, she had, and her Attorney General had the definition of the word woman deleted from the Sex Discrimination Act,
Did she?
And it's just gone from there. So
I had no idea. I remember her giving a really good speech about misogyny. Clearly, she wasn't really clear about actually what women and men were at the time. But I thought she gave a really good speech, right, to the ex-prime minister or to the serving prime minister.
To Tony Abbott.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it seems
Maybe
like
he was better for women after all.
Yeah, we don't know, what she was thinking. Did she realize it was going to go this far? But yeah, she was a lawyer, so you think she might have thought it through. But
oh my gosh,
who knows, Kellie-Jay? It's pretty bad.
It's how do you like living in? So we're in the UK. I'm in England. Scotland obviously is just gone nuts, but England, we've managed by hook and by crook. We've managed to stave off loads of this. And there are a myriad of reasons. One of them is that we were acutely aware of it before it really took a hold. So we were able to talk about this before we got completely silenced. How do you, living somewhere where you know that they are literally transing kids and you know it's wrong and you're fully aware of everything that's going on, how do you do it? Are you hopeful? Are you so angry? Are you bereft? Like, how do you get through your days knowing?
Yeah, it's all of the above, you know. I mean, I'm hopeful we've now got a test case with a detransitioner taking her doctors to court for professional negligence. So, you know, that's just happened this year, and that kind of gives you hope. But, you know, then also just this year, it's come out that a child rapist, a man who actually raped his own daughter, is in a women's prison in the state that I live in, you know, and we can't get the women's minister or the prison minister or the premier or anyone to take us seriously. It's only, you know, the ombudsman, who's a woman, who has agreed to investigate it. Everybody else is just saying, you know, trans women are women, they're not a threat to women. It's like, he's a rapist. What are you talking about, you insane people, you know?
Well, I guess when you're
So, yeah.
when you're in a cult, you can't question anything, because then you're no longer in the cult. Do you think these people who refuse, are they stupid, incompetent, invested, or just plain corrupt and liars?
Yeah, I think it's different for different people. Like, I mean, I have a trans-identifying child in my own extended family, and, you know, her mother, you know, she does mean well. She's just very misguided, you know,
Right.
and she believes, you know, the whole dead son, you know, dead daughter or live son lie, you know. I mean, yeah, it's just hard because, you know, the legislation came in before women were really aware of it, and we never had that consultation period, you know, that elongated consultation period that you had with the Tories in the UK. You know, it was just snuck in with barely any debate, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and we got the cases out. So we already knew about some of the more dangerous elements of this ideology, right? So men in women's prisons, we knew about that before we started talking about the GRA. And I think sometimes what happens in countries such as yours is people hear about these poor widow trans women who just want to pee, and aren't they just so and the trans kids, and aren't they just so oppressed and vulnerable, long before they understand that actually much of this motivation is porn sick men who actually just want to totally annihilate any space or anything that women have ever had. So I think we're quite lucky in that regard as well, that a lot of people aren't having it because they've already heard of Karen White, who is the rapist that got put in women's prisons, and they will use, you know, it's a name that's on the tip of everybody's tongue here when they talk about this issue, if they know about it at all. So anyway, look, we are going to, whatever happens, I can't promise that we're going to resolve this. I can't promise that, but I can promise that if it's anything like America, the ripples are really real when we come and do these public events. I promise ripples at the very, very least. And
you'll definitely bring a wave, I'm sure.
I'm hoping a damn tsunami, to be honest. But I just think we are, if we just focus, all of us, that we are a global constituency of women, that thing that unite us. Our bodies that unite us are far superior to any other connection or division that we might want to throw up. So I really do feel hopeful, because it is a big fat lie, and we only need to chip it away, a tiny element of it, and I think the whole thing comes crumbling down. But I really look forward to seeing you in Melbourne.
Thanks so much, Kellie-Jay. It's going to be great.
It is going to be great. And I do karaoke or bars, either way, as long as there's champagne. Just saying.
Awesome.
Nice to talk to you. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay, so Green Apple says, super chat, $5 Aussie. Thank you so much. Please say you'll be a guest on TERF Talk Down Under. Of course I will. Angie has asked us, Aussie TERFs, to encourage you to come on, and no, you need no invitation. Of course I will. Of course I will. Good evening. This is TERF Talk, whatever we're calling it today. Down under, up over. I have no idea. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
G'day, Kelly. I'm Nina.
Good day, Nina.
Um,
I'm multilingual.
hey. Yeah. I don't really have anything specific. I mean, I think I just wanted to chat a bit about what I think about. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm a little bit starstruck about the staunchness of your strategy, which I love. So like, I think that I became a radfem when I was 22 after reading Mary Daly's book Gyn Ecology,
Right.
and then just like articles on Wikipedia, right? And it's shown as if it's some kind of historical movement. And then I found the current online movement and learned about this issue, and I've been on this issue pretty hard for about 9 years. And I saw you talking on YouTube quite early in the piece. I don't know exactly when. And I was quite confronted by your strategy at the time. I was like, oh, it's not polite. It's not making compromises. And if people are offended off the bat, they will never persuade them, and we need to respect them, and blah, blah, blah. And what I failed to realize is that it's not some mistake that gender identity ideology that's infiltrating our laws and institutions is harmful to women. Yeah. It's not because they don't know and we just have to persuade them. They know. And if we give an inch, we get taken for a mile. And if we offer up the word woman, the next thing they're coming for is the word female.
Yeah.
And after watching so many women much more patient than myself having their arguments not listened to, not engaged with, and copying a barrage of vitriol and violent threats, I've honestly just had enough. The way of compromise on this issue is the way of begging for crumbs at the table, and we need to turn the fucking table over. And I really love that you're still so staunch. And and I think that the division between women who use different strategies in this movement is utter bullshit. Some strategies will persuade some and other strategies will persuade others. I was persuaded by the polite stuff and I came around in the end. So, yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Or a multi-pronged assault. Yeah.
I totally agree. And I also agree with you about, I've got a very good friend, Lauren, and I'm going to say what she says. She says, "Oh, please, sir, can I have another little crumb of dick?"
Yes.
And I think that's just something that I've never done that in my life. I've never pleaded for just a little bit of something. I want the whole damn lot. And like you, I think we should be flipping tables. I just feel like for me, short sentences, clear language is the best way to convince the sort of people that I think are going to be most easily persuaded, because all they need to know is what's going on. They don't need to be convinced by high convoluted arguments. They just need to be told, look, did you know that when your mum goes in hospital, she might be next door to a man who calls himself a woman, who then pleasures himself all night right next to your elderly mother? Because that's literally what's happening. That's what people have no idea about. And the sort of people that I grew up with and I want to talk to and I want to convince, the sort of people that get their hands dirty at work, they're the people that I'm trying to reach. And I think that they just need easy kind of, hey, did you know there's a boy in your daughter's changing room?
They're persuaded as soon as they hear the truth.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Where in Australia are you?
Northeastern New South Wales.
Okay,
my closest city is Brisbane. I'm bloody keen. Actually, I called TERF Talk Tuesday a little while ago, and I was talking about how I can't wait to come out of the closet and go full TERF as soon as my housing situation is more secure, and it's gonna be so.
Fantastic. Well, I will look forward to meeting you. It's gonna be. I can't tell you how excited I'm. So excited that I hate flying. I hate flying so much, and I hate spiders. And I'm too excited to meet the women in Australia. So I'm gonna just hold my nose and just get through both of my absolutely massive phobias. So yay!
I have a phobia of spiders. People talk it up. Hey, they're not everywhere like people try to scare foreigners. It's fine.
Okay, all right. I trust you. If it's wrong, if you're wrong, then I will blame you entirely. But really nice to talk to you and look forward to seeing you in Brisbane.
Thanks. Have a great one. Bye.
And you, bye. Okay, I'll just say a thank you to Busy Lane for your 10 Aussie dollars super chat. Good evening. This is Kellie-Jay. You are through to TERF Talk. You can say your name. You don't have to, but what would you like to say?
Hello, Kellie-Jay. It's Chris Grace, the Surfing TERF from New Zealand.
Hi, Chris Grace. How are you?
I'm really good, but I want to tell the listeners and you about something that happened to me a couple of weeks ago. Very distressing. I'm a swimmer, I'm a surfer, and I was down at the beach on my own. It was really rocking and rolling, quite rugged, and I was the only swimmer in. And as I was coming along to get out, this woman came in, and she looked a little bit distressed. The weather was really bad, and I talked to her as I got there, and she said, toward the end of the brief words she said, "Oh, I had to be here today. I'm so unhappy." And I said, "I'm sorry about that, but why are you unhappy?" And she just burst into tears and started sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. You can probably guess what the story was. Her 14-year-old daughter is transing or wants to trans, and she's just beside herself, not knowing what to do.
Jesus.
So I talked to her for a while, about there is a parent support group here and things like that. And she was saying, "Oh, you know, I've got to support her and all the rest of it." And I said, "Well, you haven't put her on puberty blockers, have you?" And she said, No, I'm not going down the puberty blocker road. Apparently the school is offering a lot of support. I can imagine what that is.
Yeah.
And I offered her my phone number and things, and she ummed and ahed. And then I said, well, I was getting out, but I would wait for her if she wanted me to. And she ummed and ahed again. And then I said, all right, well, I'm going. And then she called out and said, "Oh, I've got a silver Range Rover. You could leave a note on it." So I went and got changed. And when I came back up, the car was gone. And I'm thinking she fled because she was freaked out. I'm just hoping I'll see her again. But it was quite unexpected.
Yeah.
And it was really quite shocking. I was quite distressed about it myself. And it's quite hard talking to people like that because they're so terrified of not being supportive and not having the support of the public. They don't want you to criticise their decisions or try and reason with them about where they should go.
100%.
I contacted a friend of mine who's had some very good ideas, and we've come up with a few things, but it is really quite concerning. And I was quite shocked because this came straight out of the blue, unexpected, not someone I would have, you don't expect to have that encounter at the beach.
Well, I sat on a plane. I can't remember where I was going. I think I might have been going to talk to Tucker Carlson in America in March. And it wasn't a teenager, but I sat next to a woman, and I think, I have to drink to get on a plane, right? So I'm often very chatty. I might have cured myself of that in America because I did so many flights, but I used to have to drink quite a lot because I hate flying.
Right.
And so I might have told her immediately what I did. She might have asked me about a badge or something. And then she said that her son had transitioned, and she stumbled over the words, and she said daughter. And she stumbled over these words, and it was, it just seemed like fate that I was supposed to sit next to this woman. And it transpired that he'd had a catalogue of things, he'd identified as something. Then he'd said that he had ADHD. Then he said he had autism. And I'm saying that he said it. I'm not saying he wasn't diagnosed. He said it. And I just said to her, she was sort of talking. I just said, "Are you okay?" And she just stopped. I thought she was going to burst into tears. She stopped and she just said, "Nobody's asked me that in 3 years. Nobody said. When I've told them my son has transitioned," she said, "everybody says, you're brave, you're so supportive, you're so wonderful, all these things." But she said, not once has anybody said, "Are you okay? How are you?" And I think maybe that's what we do as humans when we're faced with that, rather than we just lead people into a place of comfort and warmth and safety.
Yes, well, this child is apparently high on the Asperger's syndrome, and she said, she'd been looking at her videos that she'd had when she was a wee toddler at play school and how cute she was and everything, and then she cried some more. It was just so sad.
It's just so
You
sad.
know,
Well,
so
the autism charities and so on in the UK, I don't know what it's like elsewhere, but here they are advocating. They are actively promoting the idea of trans in kids.
oh, it's happening here in schools and that. I mean, our new sex education thing is a shocker, and I'm a teacher who's coming to the end of my career, and I'm horrified at what's there. It's just awful, and it is really quite gross for very small children.
Yeah, I agree.
The other issue here, of course, is that the banks are starting to take away the women's toilets and replace them with gender neutral, but not the men's. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But we're looking forward to you coming out.
Oh, I'm so
And
excited.
I won't hold you up because I'm sure there's lots of other people would like to talk to you. But I had to pass that story on because we kind of need to have something in place to help people like that who are looking for answers, I suppose.
Thank goodness she found you. She could have found anybody else on the beach that day, but she found you.
There wasn't anybody else on the beach. It was so stormy and rough.
Really nice to speak to you. Hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're well. Thanks, Kelly. Bye.
All right, cheers. Bye-bye. Hello, good evening. This is TERF Talk, whatever we're calling it today. You are through to Kellie-Jay. We are a little bit ahead on the phone. What would you like to? You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say? Hello. Good evening. You're live on the phone.
Hello.
Hi. You're live. We're a little bit quicker on the phone than we are on YouTube. Good evening.
Hello. Sorry,
Hi.
there's a delay.
There is. There is. What would you like to say? You can say who you are. You don't have to. You might want to turn me off on YouTube.
Hold on 1 second. There's a delay.
Do you want to turn me off on YouTube?
Maybe this will help.
Yes.
Okay, my apologies.
No worries. Hi, good
so
evening.
sorry. Good evening. My name is Bianca.
Hi, Bianca.
Hello. Thank you so much for your time. This is the first live I've ever watched live.
Yay.
Usually I'm watching it later. I know, I'm so excited. I am starstruck as well.
Well,
I am.
there's no need.
It's just one of us.
What did you want? Where are you in the world? Are you in Australia?
I'm from Australia. I'm from Melbourne, born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to, I guess I have a lot of things to say, but I'm going to try to be concise and obviously give everyone an opportunity to speak. Something that I find quite strange for myself is I often feel at times, because I watch a lot of this stuff that's related to this issue because it's such a big issue, and it's for me quite frightening to think about because I feel so out of control and so at times hopeless because I think I'm one person, and I'm a woman, and how am I going to, this is just bulldozing through the world, not just my country or yours. And I wonder, I get frightened. And it's so strange because I know that I'm a very resilient, strong woman. And yet I feel frightened about this topic. It's like to think that things could change and it can happen right under us. And I've heard some things that I didn't know about, like our previous female Prime Minister, who I was a big advocate for because, you know, she's a woman. And some other things that have gone through here in Australia and or in Victoria, the state that I live. And it's quite, I don't mean to repeat myself, but frightening to think that this is happening right under our noses.
Yeah. And it's not real, right? The scary thing is that it's not even, for those of us that know about it, and we know it's not real, and we hear people say things, it's kind of, you know, we are heretics. It's a very frightening place to be, because
Yeah.
we know that rational arguments won't defeat kind of insane, dogmatic, religious arguments.
Yes.
How do you cope? Do you have like real life friends that think the same as you?
I do. I talk. I will. I don't talk. I haven't brought this up with any of my female friends because I'm afraid of not the conflict
Yeah.
or anything like that, but the notion that they're going to be. One of my friends, she's absolutely beautiful. She's a counsellor, and she works with a lot of minority groups, so Aboriginals and other, you know, groups like domestic violence victims and things like that. And I guess I'm afraid to bring it up with her or other women I know, because I don't want to be that crazy one that's like, no, but hold on a minute, this is actually something we need to be conscious of and talking about and not ignoring. And if you don't know, you need to know because it affects you. But I do have a male friend who I speak with about it when I see something silly or ridiculous or see something in the news, and he and I are totally on the same page.
Yeah. Do you think that this sort of tour and people coming out to speak with sort of whatever platform I can offer, do you think it will make a difference?
Absolutely. In Melbourne particularly, we do have some very left-wing areas. I mean, I'm sure every place does, like, you know, Brunswick, Coburg, and I don't live in those areas, and you wouldn't pay no amount of money would make me want to live in those places. Not to say that they're horrible places to live; they're just a bit too grungy and left wing for me. But I think that this is something that in Australia we can sometimes be passive.
Yeah.
Like with our lockdowns that we had. Yes, we had protests and rallies and things like that. But I know, like, we just went through our election, our state election. We had the Labor government win again, and I was surprised because I knew a lot of people that were against the leader of that party because of the things that we went through with the lockdown.
Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky I was able to work and every day and be out every day.
Yeah.
So it didn't really make too much of a difference for me other than I couldn't socialise. But I think here in Australia we do need, like, I'm so excited for you to come out, and I'm also scared to like think, oh, she's going to, you know, Kelly's coming. Do I even go to the event? And it's horrible to feel that way because in Australia we have so much freedom, and we are so privileged and lucky here.
Well,
so I think it's so important.
It's going to take courage. Whatever happens, those of us that can tell the truth are going to have to be courageous, because there's so many people that are frightened to tell the truth or have no idea that the truth is being so badly corrupted right now. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to risk anything. Like, you do whatever you feel is comfortable. But, you know, some women here still wear like a mask pretending they're frightened of COVID. So I will be.
That would be very Melbourne of me.
Well, then do that. It's very interesting that what seems to be the people that most closely adhered to and really liked the control of the lockdowns, they also seem to be the people that are quite happy to be told that men can be women. I'm sure there is a reason that there is such a massive sort of Venn diagram of a perfect circle for those people. But look, help is coming. I can't promise that we will change the world, but we will certainly start chipping away at the
Absolutely, we will.
I'm hoping, look, enough droplets, we form a tsunami. That's how it works. But thank you so very much for calling, and I really look forward to seeing you in Melbourne.
Yes, ditto. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, good evening. You are through to TERF Talk, whatever we're calling it. I haven't quite got my head around that. We are ahead on the phone. You are behind on YouTube. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm on.
You're on.
My name is Jess. How are you?
I'm great. How are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm doing brilliant. I'm calling from Melbourne.
There's at least, by this sort of call list this evening, there's quite a lot of you in Melbourne.
Yeah, we do have, I think, a good kind of bunch here. Yeah.
What did you want to say?
Well, first of all, can't believe I actually got in, so I'm ill prepared. But I want to say hey to some women I know that are listening. Hi, I see your messages. Looking very forward to you coming to Australia and helping organize all of that. Yeah, and kind of interested in what your thoughts are. Like, what are you looking forward to most to come out here?
I think just sort of galvanizing this idea that we really are a global constituency of women, and that actually, even though we're thousands of miles apart, our experiences in this sort of mass gaslighting, the abuse of our children, the silencing of women is identical. Like the way we feel about it, the way we walk about in these female bodies of ours is completely the same no matter where we are. And I think galvanizing us women slowly but surely throughout the globe means that this lunacy will end quicker. So that's what I'm and also meeting all the Aussie women. I can't wait.
Yeah. I think anytime someone like yourself comes around, it's going to bring up so much excitement and anticipation, and I definitely think the media will be paying attention. I know myself, I work really hard as an activist and a lobbyist, not just for women's issues, but the last few years have been very hyper focused on women's and children's issues because of what's been happening. I was incarcerated at the age of 17 in America. And so I actually moved to Melbourne from Western Australia. And there I founded an organization to focus on the prison policies, which are allowing men to be housed as and with women. So yeah, for the last few years, I've been really just hyper focused on these issues that are affecting us so badly. And there are quite a few other women across Australia that are working really hard. We just don't have the numbers. We don't have that really big public interest yet to have that massive showing of support. We need more people bugging their politicians, their MPs,
Yeah. Do you think there will come a point where people can't avoid it though? Because I think if you don't know anything about it and it's on the periphery, you might sort of be a bit mind boggled. So I met somebody, a parent who went to the same school as my daughter, and this boy came back after summer and everyone had to call him a girl. And I talked to this guy, and he was a rugby playing man. And he was like, oh, what do? He's just, now he's a girl. So I suppose we've all got to do that. And then I just said, so he'll be in the changing room with your daughter then? He's like, oh, I don't think so. And I said, no, he will. I mean, he was only like 9 or 10.
People are asleep. If people are like just kind of sleepwalking through this. It is really strange. Because there's a few points in all of this where I've been like, why aren't more people agitated, but particularly not just the general public, but women. A few years ago, I'm looking around going, why are more women not angry that men are in our prisons? But these things are by design. We live very detached to what's going on outside of our windows and outside of our doors. Particularly with the prison issue, prisons are out of sight, out of mind 9 out of 10 times. We don't really talk about prisoners, and when we do, it tends to be the men. When media coverage, and it tends to be the men. So I think we have a lot to overcome just to get people to care at all, to pay attention, much less care.
Let me ask you
then after that, it's getting them to take action. These are all separate things we have to get people to engage with. And it's difficult, but it's definitely doable. We can absolutely do this.
Tell me then, Jess, when you've thought about why aren't women more angry? Why aren't
Yep.
they? What did you come up with? Because I find it perplexing.
Fear. I think fear, and it's to me, it's a testament of how, for some, not always, this isn't a blanket statement, but for me, it's quite a testament to how strong our conditioning is as women, as girls, and then as we become women, that we question our instincts, we question our gut, we silence ourselves, and I can see that in such a massive way with all of this. Deep in our guts, we know it's wrong, but we question ourselves, and we go, oh, surely there's something I don't know. There's context I don't know, or they really do suffer. You know, for me, that was my empathy was my weakness, and my desire to want, my desire to believe that these men did actually empathize with us too. Right. And that empathy would make them want to help us. And while I do believe there are men out there that describe, by and large, that's absolutely not what's happening. They're not helping, they're destroying and hurting. So I think our empathy and our conditioning and our fear all wrapped up into one means a lot of women just keep the status quo instead of disrupting too much.
Well, we're going to have to conquer this. So I look forward to starting that process with you.
Absolutely. We welcome you, and the hard work that's been going on in this country needs to be exposed more, and we need more people to care. So very much looking forward to it.
Okay. Nice to speak to you. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Hello, good evening. This is TERF Talk. I have no idea what we're calling it at the moment. So you are through. I'm just going to send the other one to voicemail. There we go. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I'm Andrea, and I'm in Perth. Lola Mott actually totally encouraged me. She said, you need to ring Kellie-Jay.
Oh,
so
thank you, Lola Moth.
Here I am. Hang on. Can I hear you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Okay,
terrific. Yes, so one of my difficulties is that I have absolutely no support here with friends or family. I've been following you for years. I've got like 9 T-shirts and a drawer full of stickers and an umbrella, etc. So this isn't a very helpful call for other people, I guess.
It's going to be helpful for you, because I've got some great news for you in a minute. So you carry on.
Okay. It's really difficult when your family, so my 2 children are 30 and 33, and my son has a couple of friends that are apparently already transitioned, and he won't talk about it, so I don't know who they are or anything. My daughter has an in-law with a son who's transitioned. They just call me a TERF. They won't talk about it. They're embarrassed if I wear the T-shirts. It's so hard, and it's so important, and I don't know how to, because I don't have your courage. I have weak courage, you know. I did this huge painting even, and I actually sent you a little postcard of it, which was this, so I don't know if you got it or not. There's like a mermaid in the front and a stone wall in the back, and this really sad little child at a school desk.
When did you send me that? Was that a couple of years ago?
Yeah. No, early last year, because I do. And I can't even, my kids, like, everyone just, they hate me for it. Like, I can't, it's hard, you know?
So let me ask you a separate question, because I find this quite interesting that your children are not, they're fully grown adults, right? They're 30 something.
Yeah.
Yes. It feels like it's a very attached kind of infantile thing to think that our parents have to agree with us. I mean, I think that I realized that I had different opinions to my parents when I was like 15 or 16, which is one of the main reasons I couldn't wait to leave home when I was like 18. But they were still my mum and dad, right? They just had different views about stuff. It seems to be a funny generational thing, and thinking about the coddling of the American mind, that children
Yes.
do expect their parents to still kind of be like primary caring, kind of agree with everything they say parents. Do you think that's
I know,
something
and
different to how you
I do,
felt?
but I think it's so weird because that's not how we brought them up.
Right.
We brought them up with really lots of discussion around it. We were a family that sat around the dinner table every night, and we had quite heated discussions, and it was really open.
Yeah.
It's been in the last, so like I said, 33 and 30. I reckon it's the last only 5 years where they're just surrounded by woke crap.
Yeah,
So,
and everything is black and white. So every opinion we have has to be reduced to like 40 characters or whatever. Has to be the right
yeah,
opinion. Otherwise you get piled on. So, and if you don't want to be on the other side of what everybody else is saying, I'd imagine it's quite difficult. I don't mind being on the. I've never minded being on the other side. I was the only girl that didn't really like Bros or Wham, because I quite liked being different. But that's all to do with attention seeking, everything from a totally different aspect. But the good news is,
but that's why I watch you too, because you really inspire me to
thank you.
try and shut out everybody else's
Well,
opinion.
we have a really good Perth group, Standing for Women group.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Yes.
I did a Zoom call the other day with women that belong to Standing for Women that are interested in helping with organising the tour. And the biggest room of people were in Perth. So there was a room of,
Really?
yeah,
'Cause
there's a
I
room of
know
about
no
8
one.
women.
I have no friends. I
Yeah.
have no friends or who agree with me whenever I bring it up or anything. Yeah.
Andrea, write to me at info@Standing for Women, and copy in even
Yes.
local at Standing for Women.
Yes.
And what we will do
Yes.
is we will consider this as your verification, and we will put you in touch with the Perth women, so you at least can have a real live conversation. But yeah, we have little
Well,
pockets all over Australia now.
excellent. I have my biggest TERF supporters are online, like Ali Snyder in California, and Lola, and a couple of other people around.
Yeah,
but they're a long way away. Yeah.
Well, look, Standing for Women Australia is growing exponentially. We are, obviously since I announced this, it's really sort of had a big injection. But I think that what we can offer is sanity, in that you can actually
Right.
phone someone up and without hesitation you can say the things that you want to actually say without thinking that somebody is going to think badly of you. And so we at least give a little respite for the gaslighting for the rest of your otherwise silent week. But
Yeah.
do get in
Yes.
touch
'Cause
with
that's
me,
what
and
it
I will
is.
recommend that you can get
Right.
put in touch with Perth women immediately.
Fantastic.
Okay.
I'll
I'm
do
so
that.
sorry about your
I
kids.
really,
They'll thank you for it, eventually.
yeah. Well,
They
I
will.
thank you. I have been watching you for a few years now. So, and your podcast has improved in presentation astronomically since the very beginning days.
I couldn't
That's
agree.
a compliment. I don't mean that.
I couldn't agree more. Somebody, in fact, I was so chubby this time last year that somebody was going to do a little highlight reel, and I was like, do not include my my big years. But also, right at the beginning of this, I'm sort of I'm in a badly lit place behind with a flag behind me. So yes, I'm glad the presentation has improved. Otherwise, I don't think people would continue watching. But thank you so much.
I think, and they're dancing us sometimes.
Well, I'm coming to Perth. You know that, don't you? That is one of the places that I'm coming. So we'll meet you there.
Well, I wasn't sure. Excellent.
I'm coming. Definitely.
All right.
In fact, the Perth women said, "Oh, we can, we can self-sacrifice because we're so far away. And I was like, well, you can, but I'm not going to. I'm definitely coming to Perth. But look forward to seeing you then.
Wow. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Okay.
very welcome. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Hello, good evening. You are through to TERF Talk something. I haven't decided what the name is. Oz, Kiwi, something. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
This is Lola.
Hey, Lola. How are you?
Good. You were just talking to my friend Andy, who taught me how to use Zoom the other day.
Well, goodness me. The skills we share are never ending in this community of women. How are you doing, Lola? Where are you in Australia?
I'm in Tasmania. I'm about in the central of Tasmania. Are you coming down here to Tassie?
I am, and I found out that a girl that I lived with at university actually lives in Tasmania. So I'm
Is she in
super
Hobart?
excited. I think she might be. I think she's a farmer. She's an Irish.
like me.
She's an
Okay.
Irish girl.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to Hobart. Definitely.
Right. Well, I'll come
And
there.
I'm going to see you in Sydney as well. I've decided I'm going to fly up there and see you there as well.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you. It's so nice to meet you. It's go on.
Have you got an itinerary planned, or
I'm
do you
just
have
putting it
certain
together.
places you want to go?
Let me tell you where I think I'm going to go. In my little book right in front of me. So that's Vancouver. So I've got one side is Canada, one side is. So what I think I'm going to do, let me just. Tasmania's got to fit in here because I definitely want to go there now. So I'm going to start in Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne. And I think when I sort of, Melbourne is near Tasmania, isn't it? The nearest.
It is.
And then,
you would be better off doing Tasmania. Like, you have to go through Melbourne to get to Tasmania anyway.
okay.
So go to Tasmania first and have Melbourne as your last stop because it's going to be the biggest.
I think my last stop, because I'm flying back out of Sydney, I think my last stop is going to be Canberra. So
that's going to be a letdown.
Is it really? Is it that bad?
Well, I don't. It's the capital city where the government is.
But
I'm not sure how many.
They're sitting.
How many supporters there are there?
Well, I think the Sydney.
I thought Melbourne would be the big one because you can fly out of Melbourne or Sydney. Melbourne is the travel hub of Australia.
Well, the trouble
is,
it's
also the media hub.
Well, look, I'm up for changing my itinerary, and also I've got to go to New Zealand, so I've got to work out the best thing that I can do about going to New Zealand.
Well, I've thought about that
days.
as well.
Yeah.
And if you came from London to Sydney, spent a couple of days getting over that disgusting trip,
yeah,
and then went straight to New Zealand, did your dates there, and then came back to Sydney,
yeah,
then you could do the Australian tour.
What's your immigration border like?
It's not too bad coming in, and between Australia and New Zealand, it's very quick and easy.
And then nobody's going to stop me.
No, I wouldn't think so. You're lovely.
Well, I know that, and you know that, but yeah, let's see. As soon as I know, which will be at the very latest towards the end of this year, as soon as I know my exact itinerary, I've been in touch with the lovely woman at the Binary as well.
Yes,
and
she's great.
Deves, and I'm going to reach out to Sel Grover. But you know, the way my Let Women Speak events go is that we have no hierarchy, so there'll be no special guests, but there'll certainly be. I'm just going to try and get as much help as possible. I did the US and it was great, and the women were incredible on the ground, but it threw up a lot of issues for my lack of organization. So, so yeah, I don't want to do that this time. I think I do need everything booked before I leave because that
you absolutely do. Yes,
it was just difficult. But I'm really looking forward to meeting you in both places. Then,
yes,
sounds amazing.
Fabulous.
I'm sorry, I can't tell you how excited I am. Like I said to a previous caller, I hate flying and I hate spiders. So that's how committed I am to the women of Australia. But I just can't
And there is,
wait.
I also have a tip on the way home. If you
Yeah.
stop in Singapore, you can usually get a 12 or 15-hour stopover at the hotel at the airport for $1. So instead of having 25 hours in the air, you actually get off and have a sleep and a shower.
Well, I think I've got, as an alternative, I think I've got about 10 hours in LA. So,
Oh, okay. Well, that's more fun.
well, yeah, I've got a great deal on my flight. So I booked it already as soon as humanly possible. So I get there about the 5th of March and I leave on the 30th.
Okay.
So
I'm so excited.
me too. I will see
Okay,
you.
I'll
I
leave
will
you
meet
alone
you in
and
the
let other
flesh.
people in.
All right.
I want
Thank
to
you,
say hello
darling.
to Andy and to Lisa C, who was in the chat.
Amazing. Thank you, Lola. Really, really can't wait
Okay,
to meet
bye-bye.
you. Cheers. Bye-bye. Good evening. This is Kellie-Jay. You're through to TERF Talk. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
Hi, Kelly. Gee, that was really surprised to get through. I was about to hit
Good
cancel,
evening.
waiting for the cancel speak. My name's Kat. I'm out of Sydney.
Hi, Kat.
I suppose what I want to highlight, which doesn't seem to be mentioned anywhere at the moment, is the birth, death, marriage certificate changes coming out in Queensland. And even though we've heard on Sky News about the self-ID aspects, the fact that it's more, I think it's worse than UK from what I understand.
Yeah.
Because they basically put it down so that any man who identifies as a woman, his sex characteristics are protected.
Yeah.
Both his primary and his secondary sex characteristics are protected. So it basically means any man can walk in to a change room and flash all his kit and caboodle, and there's nothing you can do about it. But worse, it means, of course, and I know you know this, but I'm not sure how many people in Australia are aware of this, that really any man can walk in, because with a burly bloke with a beard, big as anything, he can walk in, and what are you going to do? Ask for his birth certificate when he just says, you know, he's a woman? There's just absolutely no differentiation between a man or even a person who pretends, any kind of man pretending he's a woman. So that's kind of been highlighted on Sky News and the lovely Kath Deeds. But what I have noticed, and even though the conversion therapy ban has been brought into Queensland as well, what bothers me the most is that they're also making it easier for the social transitioning. So what a lot of Australians aren't aware, and I'm probably not sure if that's still happening in UK, is that in the education policies, they have a concept called mature minor, that the teachers can decide a kid is mature enough to make a call to transition. Wow. And they're happy to transition that kid behind the parents' back. So they'll change the documentation of the children, you know, and they'll start calling them different names. And they'll start giving breast binders and all the rest of it for the kids, and packets, packets for little girls and tucking material for little boys, all behind the parents' back. But with that birth, just to say BDMR, MR if we can, with that, they're also, I need to check this with Kath D, she's a friend of mine, but they're also that 12-year-old, with the say-so of an 18-year-old, a statement from an 18-year-old who knows them well, can also go ahead with the social transitioning of changing their certificate. Also, and as far as I can see, I need to check with Kath, but it looks like they can change it without anything else other than just that. Some 18-year-old. Now, I work in a couple of organisations that we set up. One was Active Watchful Waiting, where we are promoting, where we're trying to make sure detransitioners are getting support to detransition because they can't get the help in the states that they've got.
Yeah.
So we've talked to a number of parents, like RGD parents, for example. Mm-hmm. And one of the stories I heard recently from a lady was that, you know, when the daughter, after she's been groomed on Tumblr, in through the door walks some 18-year-old social justice warrior from, and she was in WA, so that's trans folk, comes in and takes her by the arm and leads her out. That's the kind of person who's going to give the affirmation that that person really is the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Someone who's 18 years old, you know. the major thing people don't seem to be aware that this is totally destroying family from so many different angles. I mean, the education policy, which in Australia, I don't know, I did a lot of work on ILGA. So recently we've done a lot of talk about ACON, which is Stonewall's UK. Sorry, it's Australia. I'm still nervous, by the way.
That's all right. We're all friends.
Australia's Stonewall UK is ACON. They just took the Diversity Championship program of Stonewall. I got it originally from Kate Harris, and I had a look at it. And all they did was we just customised it, or contextualised it for Australia, and off we went. But people don't seem to realise that it is an international project, and ACON is part of an organisation called ILGA, who was associated with two pedophile organisations. And even though they lost their ECOSOC status with UN, they're back right in, and they're still pushing for the reduction of children's age. But they also work collectively together with different goals. So we have ACON, but we've got Equality Australia that focuses on destroying religion as much as it can, because it's a bigger threat to their ideology, their religion, which is gender identity ideology. So that's one, Equality Australia. You've got affiliated companies that have always worked closely with ACON and ILGA, etc., like Minus 18, that programs where they get children into Discord groups or private Facebook groups where they meet up with adults, you know, who prime them on sex and all the rest of it. You know, I could go on all night. I mean, I wish people would be aware that this is not a grassroots movement. This is a coordinated movement. I've stuck it up on websites that you can just look up transgender rights in UK, transgender rights in Australia, transgender rights in New Zealand. You'll go there and you'll see a chart, and that chart maps over to the Denton's goals. You know, this is not just a natural movement. This is a coordinated movement. I mean, we started Active Watchful Waiting. I've got a couple of groups, LGBT Alliance, that does a few projects, and one of those projects have turned into a association, Active Watchful Waiting. And I wondered, how is it that Australia could allow chemical castration drugs to be used on children? And then I realised that our tribunal that regulates drugs, 96% of it is funded by pharmaceuticals. So it's a lost cause. It's an absolute lost cause, you know.
If anyone's wondering who's listening, excuse me, what ILGA is, you can go to ilga.org, which is ILGA. It is the International Lesbian Gay Association. There's 1,869 member organizations from 169 countries, and they've been campaigning for lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and intersex rights since 1978. And I think what we understand is probably since 2016, maybe 2010, they've just been advocating for trans rights, so men's sexual rights. But they are huge, powerful, and there's a lot of money swishing around in that particular organization, and they are really quite global. So,
and they are coordinated. Now, we've done a couple of things. We've done framing exercises, because what I did is I just got a hold of all their framing material. So when you look at their material, so people understand, it's like that trans rights, women's rights, the marginalized youth. It has been part of a training material that is available to all their social justice warriors. They designed this for very much actually on a startup model. People don't understand that tech supplies a lot of the methodologies, not just the technology, but the methodologies. And when you're in startup mode, I train kids in startups. When you're in startup mode, you look at taking people who've got no skills, no time, no money, no capability, no administration. How do you make them powerful? And the startup community has been extremely successful working out smarter, sharper, faster ways to do that. And they've used that methodology in training up social justice warriors to be very powerful and effective. Now, we've done a few things in September 21 as part of CFBR. I kicked off the FOI research group, and the wonderful Kit McCloskey converted a lot of that into ACON Expo. So that was excellent work. But that work is also, I'm taking that into creating a separate diversity and inclusion audit, because I have done a lot of work with Channel 9 and Atlassian and other companies like that. Mm-hmm. One of the projects that I'm doing is lostwomensrights.com. And I've looked at 12 areas where we've lost rights and given examples that have been illustrated in the press. And the reason being is that when someone says to you, oh, there's nothing gone, you know, what are you complaining about? You can go to single-sex sports or shortlisted awards or loss of right of association or lesbians having to take admit. And you can see example after example. Now, I did the backup stuff for no conflict, they said, so I've actually linked that for testimonies for no conflict, they said. And I'll hashtag all the material that relates to the particular right, so it's easy to find the testimonies. And why I've done that, Australia, is so that when you're putting your letters together, please put some submissions together against the conversion therapy ban in WA.
Just tell me the address. I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Tell me again. I'll put it in the chat. What's the address of where they can find
Lost Women's Rights.
Lostwomensrights.org
or .com.
.com.
No, .com. I'd probably change that to say womensrights.com, but it's lostwomensrights.com at the moment.
Okay.
Okay. And if you go there, the reason why it's put is that you have got material to pick a topic that you care about and write a submission to that horrible woman, Shannon Fainton, that disgusting woman who's bringing in this BDRM in Queensland, and also get ready for the conversion therapy bill in WA. Please, you've got all the details there. I will also, because I can use AI, I will generate untold different versions of answers to stuff. So if you want something to kick off, that will be there soon. I'll put that underneath an action plan. Amazing. But the material will be there so that you can take action. Now, I just finish off with this. We did an exercise earlier this year. We did a framing exercise to look at their frames, you know, like, for example, one typical frame they use for children is something like, oh, you're cruel and hurtful if you let children suffer, and this is the reason why you have to protect trans kids, because unless you transition them, they will suffer. That's kind of a framing they had, and we answered all that. But we started an experiment of looking at all the framing around the impact of gender identity on lesbians, and we saw something like 29 politicians. Okay, and we've also, this is the most powerful thing you can do, is to go and see politicians. It doesn't matter if you tweet and complain on Facebook. It makes no difference whatsoever. Okay, it really doesn't. You need to talk to the politicians. You write to them, you see them. Now, we've made scripts for the lesbians. I'll be making scripts for, I've got a lovely group of women from, what is it called? Parents of Ethical Care are going to help me in making scripts around any damn topic you want. Right. This one will be on the medicalisation of children. So you'll have stuff that you can say and then just give your testimony. It's been extremely successful. Okay. Amazing. So the resources are there. Will be underneath that site and linked to any other related site. But we need to, if you're in Australia, you need to talk directly to the politicians. That is the most important thing you can do.
Yeah, and anywhere, actually, anywhere you live, that is the most important thing you can do, I think. And the more of you that go as individuals rather than en masse, but the more of you that make individual appointments and go, the more those politicians think they're going to lose at the next general election. So 100% agree with you.
Absolutely. Sorry for all that rant.
That's quite all right. It was very informative. You're getting lots of very nice comments in the chat. So where are you again? You near Sydney, did you say?
I'm in Sydney. I'm so looking forward to seeing you. I am just so raptured. God, I love you. I really do. Sometimes when I just really get really upset with this. I mean, I was crying on Kath Deed's shoulder this afternoon because I was reading through the stuff. They're 148 pages, and I'm just getting really sick to the stomach, you know. So when I need to pick me up, I just love that one, particularly where you told that guy, you know, I may not be a vet, but I know what a dog is. I just go and play back the things that lift my spirit, and I just go, fine, fucking sorry, well, you know, and off I go.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you and Kath Deves in Sydney, and the other lady that phoned this evening. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be just affirming, wonderful constituency of women, powerful. We are so many droplets. I swear we will form a tsunami, which is beginning to sound like a cheesy line, but I genuinely do believe it.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for calling.
Thank you.
It's been great to talk to you.
Love you.
And you.
Just
Bye
love you.
bye. I love you too. Bye. So Shannon Page, thank you for your super chat, $14.99. Yes, I will. There will be another Aussie phone in for those who don't get on tonight. Love what you're doing. Thanks for giving us an Aussie dial in. There will definitely be another couple of Aussie chats because you ladies seem to be quite up for it. Hello, good evening. This is TERF Talk Tuesday. It's not, it's Wednesday. It's some other day. It's the evening when you are. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. What would you like to say?
I've been naughty. I've gotten in a second time. I don't know if I'm the only one on this.
Good gracious. Talk about liberty. That's fine. What would you like to say?
It's Jess again. I was listening to some callers after me, and I wanted to make sure that women that are listening know that in Australia we have a case law on Scientology, blah blah blah. Long story short, the legal kind of parameters and definition of religion, gender identity ideology fits it to a T. I've written about that. I think the caller that I'm still listening to now, because it's delayed, 100% agree. We need so many more people lobbying their politicians, and I think, and her resources are amazing. I've chucked some more resources into the chat as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure women knew that we actually have the law is on our side.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all understand that the provisions that are being put in place are in opposition of the standards of law in Australia. So we just need to get all of this information together and seriously just bombard our politicians, and we need those numbers. So yeah, that was it.
Well, thanks, Jess. That was a great second call, very concise. And
no worries at all.
I will see you soon.
Absolutely.
Cheers,
Bye.
lovely. Bye. Thank you too, Kat, for your super chat. 2 Great British Pounds. TERF Talk Antipodean. That's quite nice. Perhaps that will have to be the next time I do this. I'm thinking, look, there's clearly a need for this in your beautiful down under countries. I could even go an hour earlier if you think that would be better. We could start at 8 a.m. my time, which is 2 hours ago, which then means some of you New Zealanders, and I have no idea about the time zones in Australia, but I know some of you were quite late in the evening, a good sort of 12, 13 hours away, and some are not. So I'm more than happy to do something next Wednesday, which will be a few days before Christmas, and I'll do 8 o'clock in the morning so we can all gather together and talk some more. And by that time, you never know, I might have a really solid itinerary, and then we can really start kicking the backside out of this stuff. I do mean it when I talk about, we are all but mere droplets, but together we form a tsunami. I do think that's the way that these things will change. It will absolutely change. The more people that know, the more people that speak, the more people that speak, the more people that know, the more people that know, the more people will speak, and so on. Eventually, we will be a critical mass of people that do know, where in a Genevieve, a video of me was presented in Japan. I feel I should have to fly out to Japan to see that, and I'd take my daughter because she's obsessed with everything Japanese. But I sort of feel that there is a critical mass that when something as dangerous and false as this lie, which really does rely upon gaslighting and silencing tactics in order for it to maintain its kind of dominance over our culture, it doesn't take very much to actually strip it away. We just need to keep talking loudly. Good evening. You may be the last caller on this Tough Talk Antipodean. My name is Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to. But what would you like to say?
Hi there. My name is Sarah. I'm calling from Sydney.
Hi, Sarah in Sydney.
I didn't expect to get through for 1 second, so I now have to gather my thoughts. Look, I've been around transgender people for probably 30 years. When I first came out as gay at the age of 18 in the UK. I've had some ups and downs with that community, and I've never really had any sort of prejudice or major concerns until kind of more recently, the last 5 years or so, I guess.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to see things from a very different point of view. And being part of the gay community, it's quite difficult to speak out and have a conversation with any of my friends, because you do get labelled as a TERF or just unreasonable or unkind and all the other things that you'll be sort of aware of. So I'm just calling to say that I think there are many people in the gay community are very level-headed and can see that there are some very serious issues in this space for women and for kids and maybe even for gay men. But it's not easy for us to speak out, but I think there is a bit of a growing tide now of people feeling the need to do this, because some of the insanity that we're seeing really does have to stop. I feel quite scared as a woman for other women with some of the things that are going on now.
Well, I don't blame you. I mean, I've got some good friends. Leah Keith is one of them, who's a radical feminist and a lesbian, and she lives in California. And she talked about women having their breasts amputated. So way back in the, as early as the 90s. So this misogyny and hatred of women's bodies was circulating in her circles a really long time ago. And then obviously, the men started coming in, whether they were so-called transsexual or transvestite, and often women would say no to them. And I guess vulnerable men, who they saw as vulnerable men, they might have given access to certain places, but certainly not changing rooms, certainly not places where women were vulnerable. So I can't imagine. I think, especially as lesbians, right? I think to have to fight for your rights and then watch, and it happens to women, but I think it's a lesser degree because we're not on the outskirts of society already, right? We haven't been. And I'm not saying that there aren't issues with being a female, but we know that for lesbians, you are the least important of the LGBT because of the fact that you're women, and you don't serve men in any way, shape or form. And then you just about get to a place where it's acceptable to be a lesbian for about 2.5 minutes. And then again, you're told that, you have to have these men who are now lesbians. It feels, I don't know how you do it.
When you come, so when you come to Sydney, I've actually sent you an email with the subject "Just Sydney," just offering to be a sensible person on the ground that you can connect with here.
Thank you.
What you'll see in the email is that, I mean, you don't need to care about any of this stuff, and neither do I to some extent. But next year they're bringing World Pride to Sydney. Who do you think went to? And I'm sort of stepping out of all this stuff now, but who do you think went on the delegation to Brazil to try to win the World Pride sort of thing for next year? It was a bunch of gay men and a bunch of drag queens. There wasn't a single gay woman amongst them.
Oh my God.
So you'll see when you come to Sydney, you'll see all the sort of posters for World Pride and all that stuff. You won't see a gay woman anyway. It's drag queens, trans and gay men. So it's it's not a woe with me story.
Well, no, it's not a woe with it. No, I don't think, and you can have a woe is me story anyway if you like, because it is pretty horrendous. But this is Sheila Jeffries, who I consider a friend, and Julia Long. They would both call this a men's sexual rights movement, and I've yet to hear any evidence to the contrary. I think it totally is a men's sexual rights movement, the whole damn thing. I think lesbians were just used for a short while it made kind of strategic sense, while lesbians needed to care for those gay men. But
if you go to dance parties as a gay woman, like big, heavy dance parties, techno raves, that sort of clubs and so on, there is no toilet for girls. The boys just all sort of barge in, and you just get marginalised anyway. So I guess we put up with that to a large extent in certain aspects of the social life that we have around the gay men, but and also with cross dressers or trans over the years. But I think now the sort of grabbing of political rights and trying to rewrite biology and all the other stuff that you're more than aware of, it's just crossing the line. It's just too much.
Well, heterosexual women now need to be very acutely aware that we need to embrace our lesbian sisters. I hate that word, sisters, except for my own sister. But I think it's now that as a constituency of global women, we have to really acknowledge and welcome lesbian women completely into this fold, which I'm not saying that I don't, and I'm not saying loads of women already involved in this don't, but I kind of think if lesbians weren't made to feel outcast by other women, would they have had to go into the very cold, hard bosom of unfriendly gay men and try and form a community with them? I don't think they would. I think if we looked after each other a little bit more, we might not have made that a necessity. So, women need to be mindful.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, look, thank you for arranging to come down here to Australia. It's a bloody long way to come. The advice of having a couple of days rest is good.
Yeah.
You'll need it for sure. But I have sent you an email with the subject of Sydney, and as I say, you can vet me as much as you need to, but it's a sensible offer to be in touch with somebody here on the ground.
Thank you so much.
I've also donated to your documentary because I think that's also an important move that you need to make.
Thank you very much. Let me just ask you, how long have you been in Australia?
It was 12 years last week, but I grew up in Wales.
I
went
can
to
hear
university
it.
in Sheffield. Yeah, university in Sheffield. So like you, kind of a Leeds, Sheffield, Yorkshire lover, and then 12 years in Manchester and 12 years here now. So
Well,
good all over the shop with my accent.
Where are you from? Are you from Cardiff? Are you around there?
But even more remote, in the little Welsh valleys, my little mining town. It's called Mountain Ash.
Well, that is the accent I hear more than any, is your Welsh accent, and it's lovely. Yeah. It's lovely. But thank you so much, and I really look forward to seeing you. And I will look up your email and get back in touch with you. But thank you so very much.
Thanks very much.
All right, cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, you beautiful, beautiful women. You're beautiful, beautiful women. I am so damn excited. I am going to, over the next couple of weeks, I've got a lot to do. And one of those things is to make sure that there is merch in Australia so you can be the billboard without exorbitant postage costs. And that is something that I'm committed to over the next week or so. And I will get you that itinerary. So in 1 week's time, starting an hour earlier than today, so 8 o'clock in the morning on the 21st of December, let's do another TERF Talk Antipodean. I will tell you my itinerary the day before. So I give myself a deadline. I will give you an itinerary the day before, and we will, oh my God, we will start this tsunami, ladies. So let me just say, if you can see us as a global constituency of women, where there is far more that unites us than divides, then I promise we will win. If you consider that woman next to you as someone that you care for, that you want to look after, that you want to maintain her rights, then I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Because I never lose.